The following is an exclusive presentation of the LSU Sports Radio Network. Getting ready for another week of LSU Fighting Tiger football.
Fires a bullet inside the end zone. Give me the sign. Give me the sign. Touchdown, Tigers!
Welcome in to the Coach O press conference, presented by McDonald's.
Tell the truth, Monday, I can't wait to see our team today.
A recap of last week and a look ahead to the battle coming up.
Always knew at LSU that you have to win. I know the expectation of LSU is to win, and my goal has always been to win at LSU.
Now, to get things started, from the LSU Sports Radio Network Capital One Studios, here is former Tiger Gordy Rush and the voice of your Fighting Tigers, Chris Blair.
Well, it is finally here. It is game week for the defending national champion Fighting Tigers of LSU. Welcome in, Tiger fans, for the first Coach O press conference of the season, brought to you today by McDonald's. Along with Gordy Rush, I'm Chris Blair. Coach O will address the media for week number one as the Tigers and the SEC enter the ring of college football this coming weekend. And Gordy, basically every college football fan has really been waiting for this weekend. I mean, you know, the SEC gets underway. It just so happens that 6 of the most recent AP Top 25 are SEC teams. So I think we all can now say college football is about to begin.
We are excited for some football down here indeed. Mike Leach and Mississippi State coming to Tiger Stadium to open it up. Kevin, I'll tell you this, Chris, no non-conference games this year. So right off the bat, you're thrown into a division rival. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, again, it's 114th meeting between the Bulldogs and Tigers will open up the season at Tiger Stadium. 2:30 kickoff, televised on CBS. We'll have the coverage for you right here along the network. And, Gordy, you know, when we've had a chance to be around Coach O the last couple of weeks, really since the start of preseason camp, visited with him last week on his weekly radio show, been to a couple of the scrimmages. It's really amazing, and I want to give kudos. And, again, I am the first one to admit I look at everything through purple and gold lenses, so I'll preface by saying that. But I've really been impressed with where they are and how they've gotten to get ready for this opening game, because looking at the last couple of weeks, it doesn't look all that different than what they would look like last year, the year before, and when you consider all they've been through and all the hurdles that everybody that wants to play college football has had to go through, it's pretty remarkable.
I think Coach O has done a fantastic job of listening to the experts, right? That being Jack Marucci and Shelley Mullinix and his staff, and they have all the precautions in place out here, Chris. They've been very safe. They've taken care of things. They've adapted their schedule to fit that, meaning 5 practices a week. They take weekends off and all the right steps. So with all the distractions that's going on outside the world, he's been able to keep this team focused, Chris. And I'm with you. That's what I've been impressed with. They've installed a new defense. The offense looks very similar. Hopefully Miles Brennan and company ready to pick up on the same thing that they got done with Joe Burrow there. Really been impressed with what I've seen on the field.
Well, obviously, Coach O mentioned the first preseason scrimmage. It was defense's kind of time to rise and shine, and he was impressed with that because, again, he is a defensive coach, so he's always going to like that. But then in the second preseason scrimmage, we saw some big plays and really some great individual performances on the offensive side of the football, which he also was pleased about that. I know last Friday was kind of a walkthrough, a mock game, if you will, a couple of different scenarios that they wanted to batten everything down. But again, when you look at this team and the weapons they have, the talk around the country is, well, LSU lost their entire 2-deep, or at least their starting first string. But man, oh man, they've replaced them. And when you've recruited the way the Tigers have, it shouldn't come as a surprise that everybody's excited to see what this offense is going to do.
That's exactly right. They put a lot of starters into the NFL, but as you've mentioned, a lot of people come back with valuable experience. Racey McMath, the 3 tailbacks. I'm excited to see all 3 of them, Chris Curry, Ty Davis-Price, and John Emery, and, of course, Miles Brennan. Miles Brennan now has been in his program for 3 years. He's on his 4th year. He's familiar with what to do and what have you. So very talented football team, and I think they're going to be very explosive on offense.
You know, last Wednesday, talking with Coach O, it was interesting. I think a lot of people paid attention to what he said. This time last year, or at least this time before the start of last season, we talked about all the weapons, but you and I sat on this show and we talked about the team will go as far as the offensive line can take it,
right.
And that was the biggest question mark. I point-blank asked Coach O Wednesday night, is the offensive line the biggest question mark for 2020? And he gave a quick and resounding no. They may be one of the strengths of this team.
Well, it's interesting because they again return people that have played and been around. Ed Ingram, very well could have been in the NFL draft last spring. And as he was 2 years ago, I thought he was the most talented offensive lineman that was on the football team. Deculus has played a lot of football. Dare Rosenthal, he's played some football now. You get Shanahan in as the transfer. You've got some guys that have played college football. The question is, how quickly can they gel and also gel with Miles Brennan, the new quarterback, because of this offense? Ball's coming out quick. The protection calls come quick. And so all six of those guys, how quickly do they gel?
Coach O press conference presented by McDonald's here for week number 1 coming up at the bottom of the hour, 12:30. Coach O will join us, and he will also be addressing the media, taking their questions in preparation of the matchup with Mississippi State. Gordy, you've had a chance to be around a lot of the coaches here. Always the first game you're concerned about the little stuff, the details, penalties, turnovers, substitutions on time, clock management, all the little things that sometimes you take for granted when you just want to talk offense and defense. Do you get a sense there's anything they're worried about? As you pointed out, not only is it at the opening game, which is always a challenge, right, but it's an SEC game against a rival in Mississippi State.
Right. You jump right into the frying pan, and I think that's why we saw that walk-through scrimmage, if you will, walk through in Tiger Stadium. Usually you will do that. That was a little bit more extensive that I've seen in the past. And Chris, here's why. I think with 71 scholarship players, or the numbers that they have right now, you have a lot of young people that are going to play. You'll play more young people this year, more inexperienced people that are going to have to probably play bigger roles. Now, hopefully LSU stays healthy, and I think staying healthy this year is especially important with an all-SEC schedule. So, yes, you want to go through these dress rehearsals and make sure everybody knows where to go when the lights go on because, again, you're starting with SEC play. You don't have a chance to make those mistakes in a non-conference game.
Let's talk about defense coming up in the next segment. We'll take a break in just a few moments. We'll talk a little bit about Mississippi State, get a preview on the Bulldogs before Coach O takes over at the bottom of the hour. But defensively, I know that you were a fan, as we all were, of Dave Aranda and his style. You certainly are familiar with Bo Pelini and his first stop here at LSU. But from what you've seen, what do we all need to look for differently? What do you think is going to jump out to all of us that is going to be different about the defense we'll see on Saturday against the Bulldogs?
I think they're going to be uber aggressive. And right off the bat especially, Mike Leach brings in this offensive line philosophy with this air raid that we haven't seen in this league probably since Hal Mumme.
Yeah.
Big splits between the offensive line. Well, that worked out okay in the Pac-12 and maybe in the Big 12. With the size and speed that LSU is going to bring to the table in the front seven, I can't wait to see Bo Pelini attack those big splits. And he's a 4-3 guy. We've heard about that, but I think the thing that's going to jump off the table is you'll see more people blitzing, more attacking brand of football.
Coach O certainly one to really put his arms around the graduate transfer route, and they've had a lot of success, obviously, here at LSU. Two names that come out that I keep hearing all the coaches talk about. Coach O talked about them on Wednesday. Jabril Cox at linebacker really helped solidify that group on defense. And then Liam Shanahan, the Harvard grad transfer, comes in. Offensive lineman, told me he'd never played center before, but apparently has earned the starting job there, and they're raving about him.
Let's start with Cox, who I've been really impressed with. Cox, he can run sideline to sideline. As much as I hate comparisons, everybody asks, so maybe a little bit of Debo Jones in the way that he runs laterally, and then he can attack. He can blitz. And very athletic linebacker that fits right in the Bo Pelini scheme. On the other side, Shanahan, who played tackle at Harvard, Chris, they've moved him down the center. And you and I have talked about it over the years. The center is the quarterback of that offensive line. He's ultimately the one that's got to make the protection calls. And so to have somebody that played that much college football that can go with a new quarterback, that's really important because of the job Cushenberry and Burrow were able to do a year ago.
No doubt about it. Is Cushenberry just as solid as it comes? And Coach O mentioned Wednesday night, he said, hey, Liam, using that Harvard education to set the calls and understand what needs to be done and get the line right. And he's been impressed with him. So we'll have to wait and see on Saturday when the Tigers take on Mississippi State. Again, with a kickoff coming just after 2:30 with a CBS SEC on CBS televised. And we'll have it for you right here on the LSU Sports Radio Network. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a look at Mississippi State and the Pirate, Mike Leach, bringing his crew down from Starkville this weekend. And then once again, at the bottom of the hour, Coach Ed Ogeron going to address the media on the Coach O press conference presented by McDonald's here on the LSU Sports Radio Network.
People's Health is your Medicare health team, and People's Health is proud to sponsor your LSU Tiger teams. People's Health knows that when it comes to health care, what works is teamwork. Every People's Health Plan member is backed by a Medicare health team of doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and other health professionals. Whatever your health goals, our team's goal is to help you enjoy the best health possible. So compare your Medicare coverage to a People's Health Medicare Advantage plan. Call for your free information kit. People's Health is the official health plan of LSU Athletics.
Stadium seats may have been replaced with recliners. Tailgates outside the stadium have been swapped for the ones in the backyard. And thousands of screaming fans have been replaced by one screaming baby. But the only thing that hasn't changed? Us, watching the game together.
It's game time, baby.
Test your Tigers knowledge by saying LSU Trivia into your Contour voice remote to enhance your game day experience. Watch together, play together, win together, even if you're not actually together. Cox, bringing us closer.
Hey, Tiger fans, LSU wants to remind you to defend the spread by masking up. The best defense against the spread is in your face coverage. Remember to wear your mask in public. Here are some quick and easy steps to stay well. Always wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Avoid touching your face. Clean and disinfect objects or surfaces around you, and stay home if you are feeling sick. Thank you for doing your part. One team, one heartbeat. Go Tigers!
You can't just watch. Basically impossible, roundly implausible to enter the gates of the SEC and be a faint spectator, a fly on the wall, not at all. Excuse yourself to lose yourself in something bigger. The traditions, the superstitions, the fight song in every rendition. You can't just watch, not in the home of more.
Continuing with the Coach O press conference, presented by McDonald's. Coming up, we'll hear direct from the coach. But once again, here are your hosts, Gordy and Chris.
Tigers taking on Mississippi State. They'll host the Bulldogs at Tiger Stadium for the opening game of 2020, 2:30 kickoff coming up this Saturday. Let's talk about Mississippi State. Gordy, you and I previewed this team a couple of weeks back on LSU 60. A few more answers, but not a whole lot. I mean, even following some of the media up in Jackson and Starkville, still a lot of question marks as far as personnel. But we do know KJ Costello, without a doubt, will be the starting quarterback, grad transfer from Stanford. He is in the mold that Mike Leach wants in his air raid offense.
Well, he can throw the football. There's no question about it. The Stanford transfer had a 62.6% career completion percentage. But, Chris, it is a change in what he did at Stanford. He was more of a pro-style quarterback at Stanford. This, of course, is the air raid offense. So I'm interested to see how he adapts to going with Mike Leach.
And the other thing is Garrett Schrader, who spent some time at quarterback last year, has been moved to receiver. So he's not the backup. And really not a real clear backup listed, at least so far. So it looks like, as you say, they're going to go with Costello. It's going to be interesting to me when you talk about Mississippi State, Mike Leach, what's he want to do eventually. I mean, he inherited the team he got going in this season, and he's got one of the best running backs in the country, certainly in the SEC, and Kylan Hill, who decided to stay for his senior season. I think the question is, how are they going to use Kylan Hill in that offense, or do you think they adapt a little bit because of the talent they have in the running back position?
Kylan Hill really runs well between the tackles, and I had a chance to go back and look at some of the Egg Bowl from a year ago. He had a big game on that evening in cutting up some film for CST. I was really impressed with the way he runs. I think to get started, especially in this game, Chris, is there's obviously a transition going on. I think you're going to see Mike Leach spread the field to open up running lanes for Kylan Hill to get Costello comfortable a little bit, because this is a whole new set of receivers at Mississippi State. Guidry, their best receiver from a year ago, he has moved on. So I think this offensive aerial attack is going to be a work in progress. The thing that you can lean on is Kylan Hill.
All right, let's talk about the defense, because when you look back in recent memory, Mississippi State's great teams under Dan Mullen, it was always kind of led by a solid defense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Dan ran the spread offense, but he had some big, hulking and strong and fast defenses. They've got some returners this year, although there's still some question marks. Errol Thompson kind of leads that at linebacker. They're going to stick with a 3-4. That's what Mike's going to run. Defensively, I mean, are there just so many question marks there? We'll all find out Saturday.
Yeah, I want to see what Zach Arnett does. He's the defensive coordinator that Leach brought with him from the West Coast. He was at San Diego State, and he ran a 3-3-5 defense out there, right, as a nickel defense as his base, and that happens in the Mountain West Conference. My biggest question about that defense is, what are you going to do on first and second down? If you're going to start with a nickel, you've got to love the LSU's opportunity to run the football with the stable of backs that LSU has and with this offensive line. 3-3-5 base defense has not had a whole lot of success in this league. So how is Arnett going to adapt to playing football in the SEC? That's what I want to see. On the flip side, you mentioned they do return some people in their front seven. They played some young people. They're really green on the back end. And the concern in Starkville is going to be their ability to stop the pass.
All right, coming up in just a few moments, we'll be headed over, and Coach O will address the media for his first official press conference of Game Week 2020. You know, we talked about having some non-conference games, kind of work out the kinks, tune up a little bit. Obviously, I think there's some expectation for Mike Leach in week number one, or season number one, but I don't know how high they are. But how critical is this game, not only for Mississippi State, but LSU, because the gauntlet is so tough. There's only 10 games. There's no margin for error.
No, not at all. Not when you're LSU, when the standard is you want to play for a national championship each and every year. And let's call it what it is. LSU got a very favorable draw when the schedule came out. They got Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and Missouri. None of those teams are expected to have a winning record in this conference-only season. So it's an opportunity to get some of these young, inexperienced people some reps before you go down to Florida at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium in Week 4.
Watched Coach O last night on 60 Minutes, and the reporter asked him, you use the word energy a lot, and anybody who's around him knows that you got to be energetic if you're going to be around Coach O. He's mentioned it. About 25,000 or 25% at Tigers Stadium. The way he runs practice, the way they run the scrimmages, he's told the guys they're going to have to create their own energy in this type of atmosphere.
Yeah, in watching former LSU Tiger Jamal Adams the last 2 weeks, he's done an excellent job of doing exactly that, Chris, and you're going to need some vocal leaders to do that for LSU on the football field.
All right, let's head now. Head man, Coach O.
Unmute your line, and you'll have a dialogue box that appears. Like I said, we won't go in any particular order. We'll just, as we go, I'll unmute you. So whenever, Coach Show, whenever you're ready.
All right, great to see everybody. I want to recap this past Friday. We had preseason game number 3. It was a mock game. There was a lot of energy for the mock game. We wanted to make it game-like. We talked about substitutions, situations, halftime adjustments, a big day in the kicking game. Great job by Greg McMahon and organization. We had a maroon team that was in maroon jerseys. I want to compliment all the coaches on the staff, led by Russ Callahan and Christian Lacouture. I thought they did a tremendous job of getting these guys fired up. Jeff Martin was our energy coordinator. He did a great job of cheering those guys on. They got them all fired up. There was a cowbell on the sideline. Kind of made things like game-like. It was kind of exciting, man. I just want to compliment everybody. We walked off the field feeling very good about our situations, about what we did, and we were ready to play a football game. After that, we brought our team into the locker room. We had a pretty good time there. We had a festive time talking about camp, excited about the season. Then we surprised them. We were going to give the 18 jerseys away and the 7 jerseys away in scholarships. So these guys got it. 18 was a very prestigious number, 2 very deserving young men. We had a lot of men that were very deserving, but these men fit all the categories and graded the highest in all of the categories that we judge them in. Number 18, Chris Curry. and number 18, Damon Clark on defense. Those two young men are tremendous leaders, are great LSU Tigers. Both of them fought through adversity. Guys like Chris Curry, some guys would not have stuck around, would have went somewhere else, but he stuck around and got his chance, and he's going to be a great player for us. The number 7 jersey went to Jacoby Stevens, very deserving, outstanding player, outstanding leader for us. He was excited to get it, and I know he's going to wear it with a lot of pride. We also gave 3 scholarships out. I wish I could have gave 12, 15. The walk-ons on our program are outstanding, and there were about 10 of them that were very, very deserving. But these are the guys we gave it to: Josh Williams, Lloyd Cole, and Jared Small. And, the team was cheering. Everybody was happy. We said a prayer. We sang the fight song, and it was a pretty good day on Friday. Our guys had Saturday. The coaches came in on Sunday. Now it's time to get ready to play Mississippi State. Obviously, on Monday, you can always feel it's game week. There's a little fall weather out there, and 10 SEC games coming up, one game at a time. Fortunate that we have Mississippi State at home, 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. CBS TV, I know all our fans will be watching, and those fans that will come, I know they will give a lot of noise and make it as game-like as we possibly can. We're going to have to provide our own energy. We have to play very well. Mike Leach has done a very good job wherever he's at with the air raid. He has some tremendous offensive weapons at Mississippi State. One, Colin Hill, one of the backs that I had the most respect for, some of the most respect for in the SEC last year. A very dangerous back, and especially in the spread offense. We've been studying his offense at Washington State, and his running backs could hit the hole, could bounce it out, and make people miss. Then we're studying K.J. Costello, transferred from Stanford. We hear he's going to be a starting quarterback. What is he, a starting quarterback or not, we don't know. Wait till game time, but I think that's going to be him, so we've been studying him. A very good passer, very knowledgeable, very experienced. On defense, Zach Ornett's coming from San Diego State. Very impressive numbers. Gave up 12.7 points per game, was second in the country. He was second in a couple of categories. I think he had a top 5 defense overall. And as we know, Mississippi State always has big, agile defensive linemen, 2 outstanding linebackers, safeties that are going to hit you, corners that are going to cover. I have a lot of respect for Mississippi State. I played them a bunch. Those young men are very tough. They love football. They're going to be very well coached. So it'll be a tremendous talent for our football team. But you know what? We're ready to play. We've been looking forward to this for a long time. I want to compliment our football team for not blinking, for always believing that we were going to play, always preparing like we were going to play. Our coaching staff always preparing like we were going to play. Never took a day off, and we didn't think about nothing else but the safety of our football team and starting the season off right. So we're excited about this week, and I hope to see you guys on Saturday.
Hey, good morning, Coach, or good afternoon. 2 questions. The first one is just a quick one. Do you have anybody that is out for this week due to COVID? And then the second one, we've heard a lot about what Miles Brennan isn't. What is he to you as far as the strengths that he brings to the field?
Yeah.
We've all said that he throws maybe a better ball than Joe. Do you feel that's accurate? And what are you most looking forward to out of that position?
Let me answer the first one without overstating myself. We're currently very low with guys that do have COVID. We're going to test 3 times throughout the week, so things could change, obviously. But right now we're in good shape. We have very few guys that are out because of COVID. I've always believed in Miles Brennan. I think he's an excellent young man. He waited his turn, a lot of respect. Has a strong arm, probably a stronger arm than Joe Burrow had. Can extend plays with his feet, not quite like Joe did. Is learning the offense. I think the spring kind of hurt for him not being with us, for us not practicing with his receivers. But I think he did a good job of catching up during COVID and catching up in the summertime. He was very accurate with the football in all 3 scrimmages. The only thing that we don't know, and I do believe that he's going to do very well, is how he's going to do in the fire. And the only way to know that is put him in the fire. I trust Miles. He's become a team leader. Short passing game is his strength. The deep ball is something that he is very good at. But I think that takes time for him and his receivers to get the timing down, and hopefully we can improve on that throughout the year.
Hey, Coach, how you doing? Andrew Doak from CBS in New Orleans. Hope you can hear me okay.
Yeah.
Kind of going off of that, one thing that stood out to me about Joe Burrow last year was that physically, especially when he would take off and run, he was able to take the physical punishment if he did take those shots. How confident are you that Miles Brennan is at a weight and just a physical standpoint that he can take those hits if it comes to it?
You know, when he came to us about $170, I was worried about it. And now he's about 218, so I think that, you know, he's prepared himself. He's got strong in the weight room. I think he's going to handle it well. He's going to be different than Joe. You know, Joe went to run you over. I think Miles is going to be smart, going to run out of bounds when he needs to, dive when he needs to, whatever he needs to do, not to get hurt. And I'm going to tell him to do the same thing. But I think that when it comes down to taking a hit, he's going to be fine. He's going to bounce back. But you know what? He's going to have to do it time and time again. Hopefully he doesn't get a hit a lot. But in the SEC, you're playing very good defenses, and you can expect your quarterback's going to have to take hits.
Hey, Coach, good morning. Coach, you always do such a good job about talking about what the LSU on the helmet means and what it means to wear the uniform and represent LSU. Considering everything that's happened in the previous months and, you know, so many people just unhappy right now about different things. When you take the field this Saturday, do you think it's going to mean a little bit more with so many people looking for something to smile about?
No question. I think that, you know, LSU, as I'm born and raised, everybody lives for Saturday afternoon, Saturday night in Death Valley, to be able to see them Tigers play again, gather around the TV, cook some gumbo, make some etouffee, have some parties, go back to doing the things we can, obviously following the COVID-19 protocol, but getting back to a sense of normalcy, I think is going to mean a lot for the state of Louisiana and all the great LSU fans that we have out there, and especially for our football team. Our football team has been working hard under extreme pressure. You know, here and they are going to play, they're not going to play, and you got to believe the coach. Hey, we're playing, we're going to compete to play, and they practice. They never skip the practice because of you know, too many COVID guys out or nothing like that. We always kept on marching through, and now these guys are ready.
Hey, Coach Ogeron, Garland Gillen, Fox 8 New Orleans. First off, I thought you and Coco did very well in that 60 Minutes interview last night. I no doubt Coco was going to try to steal the show there. I was reminded watching that again. I know we talked about what happened to USC and you got passed over. And there's other times where you feel like you haven't gotten your due. I know you talk about it as a team, but personally, what is that carrot in front of you right now? What keeps you going? Everybody's got something that they feel somebody's doubting them, and when you're on those jogs and when you're boxing in the gym, what keeps you going every single day that you know there's some person doubting LSU in your program?
No, I kind of love it. You know, I call it internal fuel. I digest it. It makes me want to work harder. And, you know, there's questions. You know, hey, they lost Joe Brady, they lost Joe Burrow, they lost Jamar Chase. You hear it all. And, you know, we know what goes on here. We know it's the core of our program here. I've got some great coaches. We've got some great players. We believe in ourselves. But you know what? At LSU, the standards are very high. The expectations are very high. You got to prove yourself here every game, every day. So that's what I enjoy about being here, that everybody expects you to win, expects you to be great, and that's the type of school you want to be at.
I had two questions. One, have you any updates about Tyler Shelvin's possibility of returning to the team? And, second, I'm sorry, did you answer that? I wasn't.
No, go ahead.
And the second question was like, I mean, you've talked so much about attacking style on the defensive front. You know, with Mike Leach's system before, it seems like he likes to spread defense out so much, especially when it comes to splits on the offensive line.
Yeah.
How do you attack that offense?
Yeah. First of all, Tyler Shelvin, I have not heard from. Everything is quieted down. Obviously, it's Monday of game week, so he hasn't returned. I'm not going to rule it out, but I have not a word. I have not heard a word from his family or from him, so I don't know where that's at. As far as the big splits, it makes it harder to get to the passer from the outside. It could open up the inside a little bit, but the quarterback gets rid of the ball so fast. They have a lot of screens. They have a run game. They keep you honest. But in order for us to beat Mississippi State, we're going to have to put some pressure on the quarterback and find ways to do that.
Hey, Coach, Jared Joseph Fox, in Baton Rouge. Doubling off of that, piggybacking as far as preparing for Mike Leach, how much has the difficulty of it maybe heightened because of COVID, and you haven't seen any tape of him, of course, with Mississippi State, and the quarterback situation isn't entirely solidified. So how is it preparing for that offense? And after you answer that question, the second would be for your own offense, what are you going to expect out of Keyshawn in his first one?
Yeah, well, I really like Keyshawn. I think he's a home run hitter. I think he's going to be an excellent receiver. The day that Jamar Chase left, he looked like we didn't skip a stride out there. He was outstanding. And but you know what? He's a freshman, and he's going to have to come along, but he's going to be putting some big shoes. He's probably going to start for us. So I expect him to do a very good job throughout the season and get better throughout the season. The COVID-19 was an advantage for us in some ways that we wasn't out in spring recruiting, and we were able to game plan all of our teams on our schedule. I think Mississippi State was maybe the 8th game on the schedule, and we had already had game plan them. So you got to look at Washington State for scheme on offense. You got to look at San Diego State scheme for defense, and then you got to look at Mississippi State for personnel. So you're really scouting 3 different teams, so it's 3 times the work. And obviously, Coach Leach has done a great job wherever he's at. He presents a challenge. But I think our guys have a pretty good handle of what we're going to do what they're going to do on offense, what they're going to do on defense and special teams. But just like any first game, there's going to be in-game adjustments. There's going to be new stuff. There'll be new plays. There'll be new defenses. There'll be new personnel. We just got to do a great job of adjusting on the sideline.
Hey, good afternoon. Early in camp, you talked about Liam Shanahan adjusting physicality right from Harvard to the SEC. I'm curious what you've seen in that progression throughout camp once pads came on, and especially notably this week because State's got a couple of really big defensive linemen who return.
He's done well, surprisingly well. That was my biggest concern. He was going against Tyler, goes against Apu, goes against Joe Evans. Very smart, as we know that, can make all the calls. But he's physical enough. And now he's going to get tested throughout the year, especially when they put one of those 350-pounders right on top of him. He's got to block him, but I think he can. In fact, I feel good about it. I'm very glad that we have him. He's been a big plus for us.
Hey, Coach. Obviously a big part of you guys, defending that air raid offense is going to be the secondary and those cornerbacks in particular. Can you just talk a little about what you've seen from Elias in the last couple of weeks, and then also just who do you think is going to be maybe in that nickel spot on Saturday? Yeah,
I think you can expect to see Cordell Flott in the nickel spot. Jay Ward, when he's if he's 100% healthy, I don't know how much he's going to be able to play this week. Maybe not. He's questionable right now. So it'll be Jay Ward or Cordell Flott. But Elias has shown tremendous improvement. Elias is about up to 6'2.5", 6'3" right now. Long, very smart corner, great ball skills, is learning the technique. Corey Raymond's starting to brag about him a little bit. When Corey brags about you, that means you're doing really, really well. And I think he has. And I think the communication, learning the defense, learning the checks, throwing in the fire in the SEC, I think is going to be something that he's able to do. And I think he'll play very well for us.
Hey, Coach, did Chris Curry have a great chance of starting him, or how do you see that?
Yeah, I think Chris is going to be the first back in, but I consider him, Tyron, and John all starters. I think that they're going to get equal reps. I think they're going to do things very well, and they're going to complement each other. And I think that, eventually as the season goes on, let's see who our lead back is. But throughout the camp, if I had to say there's a lead back, it would be Chris Curry. I think he had a tremendous camp, but so did the other two guys. They're very explosive. We talked about it this morning. If we'd have one strength on our offense, that we feel that it is the running back group, led by Kevin Falk, who's done a tremendous job. Kavontre Bradford is an outstanding running back, and so is Josh Williams. We gave him a young man from Houston. We gave him a scholarship, so we feel that we have 5 backs that can go in the game and do very well.
Hey, Ed, the defensive tackle rotation and how that is shaping up with Neil Farrell back. How has he looked in his return, and then just how do you see that shaping up with all those guys?
Yeah, Neil's earning his way back. Hasn't been in pads yet because of the acclimatization period. Still has some conditioning to do. Obviously, we all know Neil can play. How fast he returns and how fast he works his way up the depth chart is basically up to him. And he's come back with a great attitude and wants to work. If Neil is in shape and he's working, Neil could perhaps be a starter for us. He's that good. But I can see him starting to get some game reps. I don't know if he's going to be ready. I think Tuesday and Wednesday is going to be some big days for him. But I see Glenn Logan, Apu Ika, and Joe Evans rotating the top 3 guys right there. And then maybe see Sony in there, maybe see Jacqueline Roy in there. So we got some options in there. We got Eric Taylor that can play. So there's a lot of guys that we can put in the game. But I think the top 3 are the guys that I talked about.
Yeah, Ed. I was wondering 2 questions. One is Miles Brennan. Does he have the the same input or some of the input that Joe had as far as game plans? And secondly, why did you take up boxing? Was it because you're already doing the road work?
Well, let me say this. Joe earned his way. I took Joe in the second year. I said, listen, if there's some plays that you want to run, you let me know. Let Coach Hensmaker know. If there's some stuff that you don't like, let me know. That's how much I trusted Joe. That was after a year of starting, and that was after a year of leading the team. This is Miles' first year, so obviously he'll have some input, but it's basically a yes sir or no sir right now, and go out in there and do your job. That's it. The reason I took up boxing is I'd go jogging on the river every day, and the guy that coaches me in boxing right now, LJ, was working some guys out. He said, hey, Coach, why don't you come try it? Why don't you come try it? Well, during COVID, I was by myself a lot. I was home a lot. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take up boxing. And I took up boxing on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday night, 2 hours a night, and it filled up my time. And it helped me get in better shape. So that's the reason I took it. I like it. I wish I can keep it up. I can't during the season. Both my sons are doing it right now. It's a very good workout. You ought to try it, Ron. You'd like it.
Coach, how are you? Nicole with KOB in Alexandria. First, I haven't seen much of Jacobian in the practice footage, so what's the status of Jacoby Gillard?
Yeah, he had what we call a high ankle sprain during camp, which takes a little while longer to get back. I talked to him today. He has been a little gimpy at practice and been about 60-70%. I do believe that he's working his way up this week. Is going to be closer to full speed, but it's going to take a little while. And I think in about 2 weeks he's going to be ready to go. Now he is not nowhere in the top 3 in the depth chart yet because of his injury, but he has shown that he has a promising future here. Both him and Jacqueline Roy and Eric Taylor, those guys are tremendous players, along with our other freshman defensive linemen. So it's going to take a little while for him.
Hey, Ed, Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports. Nice job last night on 60 Minutes.
Thank you.
What you guys have done begs the age-old question. Is it harder to get to the top or maintain it?
Well, obviously right now, being where we at, it seems like it'll be harder to maintain it. It's just, hey, you got to forget about it. You got to learn what we learned from it, forget about it, let it go. This is a new season. I don't want to put too much pressure on this football team. There's a lot of young players out there. We have a first-year quarterback. I remember when Joe was a first-year quarterback, not everything was perfect all the time, and I don't think everything is going to be perfect. This team last year was struggling against Southeast Louisiana, 10-0 at halftime, and everybody was wondering. So I'm looking forward to obviously winning one game at a time, but getting better and giving these guys a chance to grow and learn each other. Got a new defensive staff. We got a new passing game coordinator. So I think you find out a lot about yourself after the first game. It should be a tremendous improvement. I think you're going to see a team, Dennis, that's going to improve every week, but there's no room for error. I mean, to get where we want to go, to be the type of team we want to be, there's no do-overs. There's no slip-ups. 10 SEC games straight, one game at a time.
Hey, Ed, you know, been pretty high on Ali Gay throughout preseason camp. They'll have him listed as a starter today at defensive end. What did he do to stand out, and what do y'all like about him?
You know, I like his range. He's 6'6". He's smart, works hard every day. Very humble young man, wants to learn, physical at the point of attack, a very good pass rusher. He's tall, he's got a lot of batted balls. He had a batted ball for an interception, I think the third play of the scrimmage last Friday. Great young man. Him and Travis Moore are going to anchor down that left end. They probably have equal reps, backed up by Jarrell Cherry, but I think right now that Ali is starting. He has earned that starting position. He knows his assignments. He does well, plays hard. I think he's going to have a great season for us.
Stepping in when Chase opted out and not really missing a beat at times. If you toss in a guy like Eric Gilbert, when you look at this passing game, as good as y'all were a year ago, what kind of jumps out with this passing game?
You know, it all depends on what the quarterback can do. And last year, the decision that Joe made was incredible. And he was a coach on the football field. And then now this year, I think Miles can do the same thing, but those guys got to get their timing down. They got to get used to being under the fire together. Joe had been there a year. It was the second year. These guys' second year together, and it all came. We weren't near as good at the beginning of Joe's career as we were at the end, obviously. I think that we need to be patient, show that these guys are going to improve. But I do believe that Eric Gilbert needs to touch a lot of balls. Terrence Marshall needs to be our lead dog. Keyshawn Butte, those guys are tremendous players. Rayson McMatt, throwing the ball to the back out of the backfield, as many touches as we can get to our best players, put them in space, and let them make plays.
Coach Scooter Hobbs, how you doing?
Scooter, how y'all doing in Lake Charles?
Oh, we're getting there.
You got some electricity, I heard, huh?
Last year, what?
You got some electricity, I heard, huh? You got power?
Oh, yeah. A little bit. No AC yet, but I got a window unit.
Okay.
That was engineering marvel, getting that thing in. But last year, for all the talent you had that you obviously have to replace, how do you go about replacing the chemistry and the swagger that team had? And are there things coaches can do to get that chemistry in place?
You know, I think that's a process. I think it starts with the coaches of us fostering leadership. I think the three young men that I gave the 18 and the 7 jerseys are going to be tremendous leaders for us, along with several other players. We've had several leadership committee meetings, more than I've ever had since I've been coach here, to be able to foster that leadership, to give them a chance to be leaders on the field. But you know what? The only way I think that you earn respect as a leader is to make plays on the field during game day. And I think as the season goes on, and as we're going to face adversity like every team does, somebody's going to have to step up and say, hey, this is what we're doing, this is how we do it, and be the lead dog and go get it done. And obviously we had a lot of guys last year that could do it, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire was one of those guys. The game he had against Alabama was something I'll never, ever forget, and that was a tremendous job of leadership by example, and so was Joe, and so was Justin Jefferson. So we have some guys that I think they can do it, but come game time, they're going to have to do it.
Hey, Coach, this is Josh Sibley with Louisiana Gridiron Football. Going back to your nickel play, you've said Jabril Cox is athletic enough to play nickel. Can you possibly see a scenario that you might end up having to play Jabril Cox at nickel?
Yeah, the injuries would have to play a factor in that. And hopefully they don't. But we're very thin at corner, and we're glad we got Darren from Nicholls State. Now, he just started, and we think that he can play for us. We know he can play for us. And but it's going to take a little while for him to get used of it. Jay Ward is not 100% yet, so it all depends how fast he can come back. But I think we'd have to be down to maybe our third nickel for him to go in there. And we like him at linebacker. We don't want him to have to play nickel, but if he has to, he could.
Hey, Coach, Andrew Doak with CBS in New Orleans one more time. A two-parter, if I could. When it comes to Eric Gilbert, is there a college or pro prototype that he kind of reminds you of? And then the second part would be yesterday in the NFL, we saw kind of a rash of injuries. And some people kind of, related to no preseason. And I just wonder, just starting in the SEC, not having a game against an FCS opponent or just one of those lower level opponents, what's the biggest challenge just from a physical standpoint to have your team ready to play against the most elite athletes in college football?
That's why we had those preseason games. That's why we had some tough days at camp. We had to have some physical days. Now, not every day was 11 on 11, all-out tackler, but we have a drill called bump combo drill where there's about 5 guys in there. We're getting after it pretty good and simulates a tough running game. We had team pass, simulating a tough protection, a tough rush. So we took spurts in which we could simulate game-type stuff going best against best. Because I feel that, we have a very good team. So the team that they see in practice is going to be a pretty good football team every day. So we simulated that. You can't be 100%. The thing I worry about the first game is tackling. Because we don't tackle every day. We don't go to the ground every day because you can't, because you're going to get hurt. I think some of those things are a concern. But I think that the process in which we practice is going to be very important. Eric Gilbert, I haven't had a tight end like him in my coaching career. Some people compare him to Calvin Johnson. I'm not comparing him to Calvin Johnson. I don't want to put too much on him, but he's that type of football player and has that type of body and can do those type of things. Now, obviously, will he pan out to be like that or not? Nobody knows. But he is similar in stature and similar in skill set to Calvin Johnson.
Guys, we got time for 2 more questions. We'll go Brooks, and then we'll wrap up with Copper.
You talked about Ollie Gay and Trevez Moore holding down that strong side on the defensive end. Could you maybe explain a little bit the roles for those defensive ends on both ends, the weak side in there, and why the people there are good for those spots?
Yeah. The left end is usually the bigger end. Because most teams are right-handed and want to run the ball to their right, with a tight end there. So we put the left end there. The right end is a smaller, quicker end. Sometimes it should be your best pass rusher because he's coming from the quarterback's blind side. That's the reason we do that. Andre Anthony is at right. Ali Gay is at left. Ali's a little bit bigger. B.J. Ojulari is at right end. Trevez Moore is at left end. B.J. is a very, very talented young man. You can see a lot of snaps of. He's probably our best pass rusher right now. So you're going to see a rotation, at least 4 guys at defensive end, left and right.
Sorry, Coach, I'm fielding texts about questions that people are going to get to ask. So I got a couple then, I guess. Is there anything that you're unsure about, whether it be roster or teams or anything of that area that you're trying to button up this week? And then finally, anything different as far as the way you guys are going to run things on the sidelines or in the press box because of COVID this year?
Yeah. Well, first of all, this week, I want to start from scratch. We've been game planning last week. We game planned against Mississippi State. But I want it to be all new, all fresh this week, man, going through the process. This is our first game week. Tell the truth Monday, competition Tuesday, turnover Wednesday, no repeat Thursday. We haven't had a focus Friday yet because of the time allotments and the practice allotments. So it'll be our first focus Friday. We haven't gone to the hotel yet. We haven't done the Tiger Walk yet. All that stuff. So I want to make sure all that stuff goes smooth. Preparation is smooth. And, The sidelines, obviously we're going to wear a mask. There'll be a lot less people on the sideline. We're going to try to practice social distance as much as we can. Obviously, that's going to be a challenge, no question. But I think as far as the play calling, as far as the guys in the box, the guys on the sideline, everything's going to remain the same. We want to make sure that everything remains the same as well for our players so they can be comfortable in their environment.
Okay, thanks everybody. That's it for today.
Coach O in a very upbeat mood as he and the Tigers get ready to kick off the season this coming Saturday against Mississippi State. We'll be right back after this quick break to wrap things up here on the LSU Sports Radio Network. Support your LSU Tigers with Hancock Whitney, the official bank of LSU athletics. From game day to the offseason, Hancock Whitney LSU credit and debit cards are a big win for any Tiger fan. Want to get your paws on these cards? Well, apply online or visit HancockWhitney.com/LSU. Hancock Whitney Bank, member FDIC. All accounts subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions may apply. At Our Lady of the Lake, they know firsthand how COVID-19 has changed our world. But one thing that has not changed is their team's dedication to serving our communities. Everyone plays an important role in stopping the spread. Wash your hands often and stay home when you can. And now, their providers are offering video visits where you can receive medical care from one of Our Lady of the Lake Physician Group providers from the comfort of your home. New patients welcome. Just visit OLOLRMC.com to schedule.
Whatever you bring more. Whatever you personally bring to the SEC table, bring more. Get up earlier, sing and yell and stomp louder. Enough never is. Not here. Between the magnolias and the azaleas, legends and lore regale us, downright implore us. Bring everything you got, and then bring more.
LSU fans, show your pride with real Tigers gear from the official online store of LSU Athletics, LSUshop.net. You'll find everything a Tiger fan needs, including jerseys, jackets, polos, t-shirts, hats, and more, with an awesome selection of more than 4,100 products, including official team merchandise from Nike. When it comes to team pride, there's only one place real Tiger fans go, LSUshop.net.
Back to wrap up today's Coach O press conference. Once again, here is Chris Blair.
Thanks for joining us today for the Coach O press conference presented by McDonald's. Tigers will open the season taking on the Mississippi State Bulldogs for the 114th time coming up this Saturday at Tiger Stadium. Kickoff just after 2:30. The SEC on CBS with Brad Nessler and Gary Danielson will have it on TV, and of course we'll have it right here on the LSU Sports Radio Network. Join us Wednesday night, 7 o'clock for the Coach Ed Ogeron Show presented by Hancock Whitney. It's your chance to talk with the coach. And then on Saturday, we're going to start your day with LSU Game Day at 12:30, live from TJ Ribs. Then we'll have the kickoff as Doug Morrow and Gordy Rush will join me from inside legendary Tiger Stadium. Have a great week. And now for Gordy Rush, this is Chris Blair saying so long, everybody, and go Tigers.
This has been the Coach O press conference. Go Tigers. Presented by McDonald's. For the very latest on Fighting Tiger football, follow them on Twitter at LSU Football. Online anytime at LSUsports.net or download the all-new LSU Sports mobile app. The Coach O press conference is an exclusive presentation of the LSU Sports Radio Network and Outfront Sports. The LSU Sports Radio Network is a division of LSUSB.